I don't know if you're like me, but I'm as happy as this octopus could be. Here, you have him. As you can see, Mika's got her octopus, and she's super excited. Take him away. Bye, Squidward. Anyways, we got packages today. Holy smokes, I'm excited. We're gonna be opening these up. This should contain all the parts for the car. If you know, then you know. And if you don't know, now you know. Sure. Let's cut this open. I was just cutting the tape. She came over, bonked my leg, and reminded me we have to thank Davenport Motorsports. The reason why is we thought this was going to take a little bit longer because a couple of the people that were supposed to be helping me out with these parts unfortunately had to back out, and then there was no quantity or anything available. And I started freaking out because, one, prices have gone up since then, a bunch of other things. Either way, thanks again to Davenport Motorsports. They're located out of Calgary. They've been around since forever. And a big, big thank you to Steve for taking the time and helping me plan this out. I told him what the goals were. We changed the plan completely, and he's been doing this a long time. Anyways, let's jump into this. First things first, we've got lifter buckets. That is going to be for our non-AFM, MDS, DOD, whatever you want to call it. It's basically so that way you have those collapsible lifters that turn this into a 4-cylinder from an 8-cylinder, which personally, if you buy an 8-cylinder, you want an 8-cylinder. I mean, unless you're using this as a work truck or something like that, which this is not a truck, this is a sports car. Again, unless this was a work truck where maybe you're going to benefit for it dropping down to 4-cylinder mode, and you're not really thinking about this for performance, you're just using, let's say for a Hemi, like in a Dodge Ram. That makes sense if it's going to be a work truck and you can cover off cost of repairs when the lifters eventually do what they do best, which is fail. Then yeah, go ahead, keep it. But for a sports car, I guess you're just doing it so that way you meet compliance, so that way you can pass emissions to sell in certain countries. That's the only reason why you're keeping it from the factory. Anyways, we've got our new buckets for the new lifters. Let's go deeper. We have King Racing. This is definitely bearings. We can look into this a little bit. Basically, we wanted the best of the best bearings because if your bearings fail, then you're tearing your whole motor apart. To go ahead and swap those out. That's the last thing we want. And holy smokes, now we get to the big stuff, which is farther down. Actually, wait, there's more. There's something buried right here. Let's not break it, but let's dig in right here. Oh, it's heavy. Whatever in here is nice and heavy. Let's go ahead and see if I can lift this up right here without breaking it and open it up. What do we have? It's a present. Ooh, that's the K-Tech. This is a high scavenge oil pump. This is going to be so we can keep everything lubricated. Again, the reason why, if you also watch my engine build video when I'm telling everyone about building motors and stuff like that, you need to make sure everything's lubricated. And one of the biggest things that we found, especially with the Hemis and stuff like that, is if they had a better oil pump, which could pump more oil up into those cylinders and keep everything, of course, lubricated, and especially into the valve cover, so that way those lifters and rockers, especially for the 3.6 Pentastar, then we would be having better lubrication, which would cause less failures. But that's why the rockers fail on the 3.6 and the lifters fail on your Hemis, because the oil, you need more oil pressure to get up into that head. You need to get that oil up in there so that way we can lubricate it and things don't fail. So that's why we went with a K-Tech, so that way we can go ahead with our dry sump. Again, this is for a dry sump, and then you can, there's probably a wet sump version, but because we have a dry sump, that's why we went for the dry sump version. Anyways, moving along, digging deeper. Holy smokes. I think from this point, this is probably just this, and to pull these out, I'm probably going to want to put my camera on the tripod because there's no way I'm going to try and lift the expensive stuff out. I feel like this is the treasure box because it has the jewelry that goes inside the motor that makes it do all the things you want it to do. And again, this is one of the most important purchases throughout the engine build. Yes, lubrication, of course, is way up there. That's why we went with a high scavenging pump, but you also want to make sure that you have good pistons. As you can see right here, actually everything kind of works together. I shouldn't say that. These are your retaining clips. They go inside to hold the rods into the piston. So if we go in here, we have high performance rods. There's a whole bunch of them in here. We're not even gonna bother opening them up, but trust me, they're just rods. You know what? What am I talking about? This is an unboxing video. You guys wanna see them, right? Let's see. And I'm opening it upside down. Look how shiny they are. Whew. They look great. And we have 8 of them. Perfect. Quantity check was in order. They're a good thickness. I don't think we're gonna have any failure rate. Last words. Famous last words. Anyways, you don't need to see these. These are the rings. There's a set for each piston. We can go ahead. We're just gonna put these off to the side. I don't know why I'm taking them all out, but I am for a second because we wanna see the pistons. This is what you came to see, I'm sure. That's why I was going on. Again, I decided on going with forged. And the reason why is because this car is not gonna be a daily driver. Oh my gosh. That, my friends, is jewelry for men. That is beautiful. I'm so excited to run these things. I did a lot of research, and then I ended up talking with the guys over at Davenport, and this was the combo that we decided to go with. I will show you the connecting rods in a second, but give me a second to put this back in. I'm not gonna make you watch it, but that is the beauties. Let's just bring that a little bit closer. Look at that. For boost, that's why it's not flat. This right here is going to be the new timing cover. Holy smokes, that knife is not sharp. How do I even have this in my kitchen? Anyways, like tape just beat this knife. I'm kind of surprised. So, if we're taking a look here, this is our VVT Delete front cover. Why? Well, you could buy that little pin or the phaser lock if you so wish. What's really cool with this? Well, it replaces the whole front cover. Holy smokes. Look at that. That, my friends, is shiny. So as you can see, what this is going to do is lock the cam at 6 degrees. And what it does is it just bolts right up to the front end. There is no movement at high RPM. What's gonna end up happening when we bolt this up and it locks the cam in at 6 degrees, it's gonna be that sweet spot. We don't have to sit there with our dials and make sure that we dial the cam into the perfect degree angle. There we go, degreeing the cam, blah. Anyways, my ADHD brings me there. It's just in a roundabout way. We got some screws, we got the new cam bolt, and there's more parts underneath here. We will go over this when we install it. I don't want to go and start mucking about because I'm gonna have to put it back in here. It's beautiful though. I'm so excited. Don't get me wrong, quality costs money. I think this was probably around $900 Canadian. Well worth it though. Actually, no, it wasn't. I'm totally lying about that. I think it's probably around 1,300 Canadian if I'm honest. But well worth it because again, now our tuner is gonna love us because this isn't going to move and judder at high RPM, causing tuning to be an absolute nightmare, especially on the dyno. And it's gonna be way more, well, stable. That's the biggest thing. We wanna stay stable, and that way we can get better results and more stable, accurate, and longevity of the motor, everything like that. Because the last thing you wanna do is put it back together and cheap out and then cry even though you spent the money, but then have to tear it all apart because you should have spent that little bit more. Anyways, let's go on to the next part since Richard loves to ramble. All right, next item. What would you look at that? It's a t-shirt. Man, this is the most important of it all. Now I've got some swag to wear during the engine build. Thanks guys, excited to wear that again. I'm gonna shout them out right here. Davenport Motorsports. Put that off to the side. What's next? Mopac. Now that's hilarious. Oh, there we go again. Davenport Motorsports, and it's a flex fit. What? That's awesome. Thanks guys for the hat. Next, to support those beautiful pistons, we need rods, boys. Nothing like a solid rod, if you know what I mean. Look at that, we got our, what is this, considered I-beam? Yeah, this is I-beam, I think. It's not H, it's I. Again, they look beautiful. These are Corello, and they look great. I can't really say anything bad, anything more about them. They're just going to survive. We got some strong studs in them, which is great. And I believe, yes, these ones came with the bearings. So we'll put this here. And again, we got some lube. Always good to have some good fastener lube, so that way everything goes in nice and tight and you can torque everything to spec and not have to worry about stripping anything. I mean, why have one rod when you can have 8? Fun fact with this rod and with this piston, they are both balanced already and are technically a drop-in piston, meaning let's say you didn't want to do what I'm doing, which is rebuild the whole motor. You just wanted to slap in a new piston rod combo, leave the crank bolted in because you don't see anything, like you don't want to address the bearings or anything like that. Well, you can actually technically slap these in and it doesn't need to be balanced. Again, that's what the Bullet series is about. Apparently this is a balanced kit, meaning you can slap it in, just a slight hone on the cylinder. Again, I would highly recommend that if you're taking this time, get it balanced. If you're already at the machine shop and you're going that far, throw some new King bearings in and go ahead and make sure that crank has no flaws, everything is still balanced. But again, for the person that is in a rush, maybe you have a race the next day or something like that, I don't know, and this is gonna be an overnight haul, maybe this would be your dream because you can just, again, adapt the piston rings, slap in the piston rod combo, and away she goes. Just not put this in her hand, even though I doubt it would even insert considering it can't cut through a sticker. Let's go ahead and do this. Oh yeah. If you're wondering what these are chromoly push rods. So I went with chromoly push rods because we want to be able to handle that power, not worry about our valve train assembly. Getting a bent rod, because there's nothing worse than bending a rod after you just built your motor for a certain amount of horsepower. So spend the extra dough and get yourself some chromoly ones. And again, cry now, spend once, blah, 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 blah. You can do it. CHE Precision Valve Train Component. This is your trunnion kit. What is this for? This gets rid of any chance of lifter failure. What this does is switches it out to bushings, and look at how well that's packaged. It's just shiny. Like, it's beautiful. I cannot wait to put these in. And again, we got our lubricating pump in the back. These nice and lubricated should last us and take what we're gonna do to this motor. Again, the trunnion kit is a very known upgrade for doing the LS motors and the LT motors to make sure failure stays far, far away from your valve train. What's next? This part's gonna give away what's coming. Let's go ahead, try and cut another really strong Brian Tooley sticker. And we'll come over here and cut that one too. And we open it up, and it's a nice little package with lots of Brian Tooley stuff. Look at how shiny those are. Oh my. Warning. Incorrect. Correct. Make sure you follow this. Look at this. Do not use the stock components. Damage may occur. Titanium retainers. Spacers. I guess one of these are going to be exhaust and one are going to be intake. If I read the packages, I'll know in a second. And let's go ahead and pull one of these springs out, show you them. So if I went downstairs and I would show you one of the other springs, first thing you would notice, if I actually had this thing in the camera shot, this has 2 springs in it. We went for a dual spring. It's easier on the valve train. I almost said the valve spring, but I guess kind of is. But anyways, it's easier on the valve train. It doesn't make it so you have to have such a strong spring that it requires the engine to push harder, which would be a parasitic draw. And like I said, it's easier on the valve train components. Can you guess what's next? Oh yeah. If we're doing valve springs and push rods, we had better be doing a new cam because, as we all know, the Corvette stock cam is lacking thereof. Oh my gosh. This is a beauty. So, yeah, I mean, this is just a stage 1 cam. I went with stage 1 because of twin turbo. If I was doing, of course, supercharger, we would do something different because it would be a supercharger and you'd want a supercharger cam for a better lobe separation and peak height for, of course, a supercharged setup. But because we're not supercharging, turbocharger uses a different cam. Again, I could go into this for a long time, but this video is already getting long. Let's jump on to the next item. With great power comes great responsibility, meaning a very, very strong timing chain. We have a K-Tech timing chain, Gen 345. Wanted to make sure that we have that. Well, what could we have here? GM part number, there's only one GM part I ordered. And you might be thinking, well, all this aftermarket stuff, why would you keep these? Well, these have been proven time and time again to be great. And that is the GM Racing lifters. So that's exactly what we ordered. I was talking to the guys, they said, seriously, just stick with them. We haven't had any failure with them. And I said, sure, let's do it. So I trust the guys that have blown enough stuff up. Most importantly out of it, anytime you're rebuilding something, ARP. You cannot go wrong. Every time I work on all these motors, I switch. The only one I didn't, which I already sort of regret, even though it hasn't caused any problems, I don't know why. Oh yeah, that's right. I couldn't get any in stock and it was like 7 months in some places away from getting these in stock for the Hemi. Otherwise, the Hemi would have had these 100%. ARP just makes such great fasteners. But I did use ARP header bolts because if you're doing headers and you don't do ARP, I don't know what's wrong with you. They are literally the best in the game. These ones right here, let's see what we have. We have studs. Well, ain't that nice? We've got some studs and some bolts. It's exactly what we need. Let's go ahead and show you this one. This right here is the head stud kit. I'm just opening these up. I just always love to check. I mean, these guys are world renowned, so there's no way they're gonna send you duds. But still, it's always best to check. Holy smokes. They even put protectors on the threads just to make sure. The first time you pick up an ARP stud, you will be blown away. Trust me. There's just no way you're not. The quality, you feel it with just from picking it up. It's a solid bolt. You know it's not going to fail. And that's why we put it on headers. We put it on everything. I mean, that's the first thing I did for the Hemi, and I wish I would have done it for the main studs and the head bolt or the head kit. That's what this is. This is the head kit. And I really wish I would have done this, but I didn't. But I did use it on the headers for the car already, and I've used it on the headers for the Jeep Hemi project because literally you cannot beat their bolts. They're not going to break on you. And if they do, well, there's not much more you can do, and there's not much worse luck. That's all I can say. I'm going over this for a second. I'm like, I've got the buckets. I've got the rods and the pistons. I've got our engine cover. We've got our, of course, the lifters themselves. We have the push rods. We have the valve springs and cam. We have the studs. We have the timing chain. What on earth are we missing? Truth be told, we aren't missing anything. But I figured they had this in stock and wait times are insane. Let's show you what's in the little box. What could it be possibly gone? I will tell you now, I haven't done fuel yet. Fuel is something that is going to happen, but not quite yet. Just because we're not twin turboing and the fuel system's good to 650 horse, and let's face it, I'm not hitting 650 horse with just this stuff. There's just no way. Anyways, wait, 4 new bolts? Is that all I got in this box? Well, of course not. We got a K-Tech throttle body, 103 millimeter. Holy smackin' jazz. That is insane. That mouth is bigger than the lens. See? Oh yeah, no. That's bigger than my lens. And wow. Holy smokes, look at this thing. Where am I gonna put that? Okay, give me 1 sec. I'm gonna go grab the factory throttle body so that way you can see just how big this is. Factory throttle body. Oh, it's even hard to get out with one hand. K-Tech throttle body. That is insanity. Like, I don't want to ding it up, but I hope that shows on camera. That is a massive difference. And that's black. Being black, it's gonna look smaller on camera. I can't get over that, 103 millimeters. Anyways. Guys, I am so excited about this. I'm literally just trying to contain every thought that's jumping through my head right now. But the most important one is to thank, once again, Davenport Motorsports. Again, I was talking to companies. We were talking weeks to months to get this stuff. They got my order, and we started talking about it on Thursday. Then on Friday, we solidified everything. Saturday, they took payment. Shipment left on Tuesday. Monday they packed it. Tuesday it left. And then Thursday it arrived. That's right. Under a week, everything arrived. One-stop shop. They had everything in stock. Thanks again, guys, at Daven if you watched the video. And thanks again to everyone that's following this build. We got it coming, baby. And she is going to haul... Can't say it.